another book that's kind of about a Republican. And the title of the book, and I have it as also a book on disc, and it just, I'm so old, it just astonishes me that they build cars without CD players. That's why I won't trade my car. I don't want a car that doesn't have a CD player, because I don't know how to play it. I don't know how to do all that other stuff. I know how to put a CD in. And I have listened to this, and what I'm listening to again, and what I commend to you for reading or getting it as a book on tape, is a book called Lincoln on the Verge by Ted Widmer. Lincoln on the Verge. And what that book is about is Lincoln going from Springfield, Massachusetts to Washington. And they didn't think he could make it, and they conspired to kill him. He was not going to make it to be inaugurated. That was going to be the answer to that. And how that book leads me to my topic tonight of some Democrats is the first Democrat that I want to talk about for a few minutes is John Breckinridge. John Breckinridge was the vice president of the United States. And as Lincoln tried to get from Springfield to Washington, the great mystery was this: will they cast the electoral votes right? Will they follow the election results? All John Breckinridge has to do, it doesn't have to be that nefarious, it doesn't have to be that criminal. Just on the way to the floor, they just lose the votes, lose the ballots, lose the report on what the electoral votes were. And so as anxious as they were about Lincoln making it alive to Washington, they were equally anxious about the votes being tallied properly. Now, the election has been had, the votes have been counted, the electoral votes are for Lincoln, but John Breckinridge, by then a Confederate, by then you knew his loyalties were with the South. Will he do his duty and count the votes right? And to make a long story short, he did. He did. And when we had the contretemps, the nonsense that we had 4 years ago, what I thought was, not even the Confederates would do that. that Trump was asking to do something John Breckinridge wouldn't do. And you could go online. He asked, what did John? Here's what John Breckinridge said: the reading of all the electoral votes was completed by the tellers, who reported the result. For Abraham Lincoln of Illinois, 180 votes. John C. Breckinridge of Kentucky, and he himself was a candidate for president.
Okay.
Help me, Holy Ghost. 72 votes. John Bell of Tennessee, 39 votes. Stephen A. Douglas of Illinois, 12 votes. Whereupon the vice president, John Breckinridge, rising, said, Abraham Lincoln of Illinois, having received a majority of the whole number of electoral votes, is duly elected President of the United States for 4 years, commencing on the 4th of March, 1861.
All right.
John Breckinridge, a Democrat, under stress, pulled, strain, but found a way to do his constitutional duty as he prepared to leave the Union. But while he was there, he did his duty. Democrats. We come to the 20th century and to Alabama, and right here and not so far from here, and I've practiced law since 1982. But I think only in the last couple of months have I had a case in Clay County. And Clay County is, of course, the home of Hugo Black. Mm-hmm. Who is a greater Democrat than Hugo Black? From right here in this zone, in this area, just a kind of a stone's throw away from us. Born February 27th, 1886. And grew up not privileged. The bio says his father was a hardworking guy, but Hugo Black was very smart. Went to medical school for a year and did well, but left medical school in Birmingham and then went down to the University of Alabama to law school. Was successful in law school and successful as a lawyer and as a prosecutor, and went into the Army from 1917 to 1919 in World War I, and came out of the Army and held elective positions and ultimately got elected to the U.S. Senate. And he had no network, he had no money, and the way he developed a network was hitching himself to the Ku Klux Klan. They had the network throughout Alabama. And Black hooked himself to that for political purposes and got elected to the United States Senate from Alabama and became one of the most effective senators and one of the most stalwart supporters of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And the Senate and the Supreme Court was undoing what Roosevelt was trying to do. So what do we have? Roosevelt coming to power when? During the Depression. After Hoover is not able to manage the economy, or really doesn't even perceive the role of government as one that would involve itself in trying to do something that we now kind of call managing the economy with interest rates and all these things that we have, all these federal agencies and things that we have now that we really didn't have then. And everything that Roosevelt tried to do, the Supreme Court would undo. And that's why Roosevelt came up with this court packing plan that was ultimately disaster. He said, well, I need some more votes. I don't have the votes I need to make me some voters. So he was going to expand the court so he could make voters. But Hugo Black was a great supporter of his in the Senate. So Black, the president, FDR, thought he's for me, he's on our team, and him being a senator, I ought to be able to get a senator confirmed by senators. So FDR nominated Hugo Black to the U.S. Supreme Court. And ultimately, and the Senate confirmed him, but actually before he was sworn in, there got to be a brouhaha over his past involvement with the Klan. And as a matter of fact, he had to kind of go in the back in the booth in the corner in the dark his first day at the Supreme Court. He couldn't even go in kind of through the front door. But Hugo Black, with that kind of blemish or over his career or past. But Hugo Black, Democrat, from right around here, right down the road, would become one of the greatest Supreme Court justices in the history of America. One of the fairest, one of the most honorable men without a touch of racism that you would think, or you might infer, or you might impute somebody would have because they've been associated with the Klan. He did what he did for political reasons, but what he had in his heart was the desire to do right and to serve people. So, in 1954, when the Brown versus the Board of Education case came up, what did Hugo Black do? Vote to say you shouldn't have segregated schools. Hugo Black, a Democrat from Alabama, who looked the challenge of racism, of political pressure, looked all that in the face and could say, I'm going to do the right thing. You know, it was really interesting as you think about Hugo Black doing the right thing from right down there in Clay County. Thurgood Marshall came to Anniston 2 or 3 months before Hugo Black, and the Supreme Court handed down the Brown versus the Board of Education decision. Thurgood was over at 17th Street Baptist Church. Here's the report from the Anniston Star. And you know, even the mayor showed up. Help me, Holy Ghost. Let's Attorney A.D. Shores of Birmingham introduced the speaker after brief talks by several local, state, regional, NAACP leaders. Mayor E.C. Lloyd welcomed the group on behalf of the city. You didn't know that, did you? The mayor went over to 17th Street. Right before that. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
See that? I came to uplift you.
All right. All right then.
Absolutely. Went over to 17th Street, and just months before that was handed down, Thurgood, and you have not because you asked not. You think Thurgood Marshall won't come to Anniston. Well, he's already been here. And that you have not because you asked not. But Democrats, these are people who are trying to do their job and do the things that they should do as best their colleagues will let them do. As I think about, and I haven't seen it, but we need Judge Rochester, from another good Democrat from over in Clay County, to show us. There is a portrait of Justice Black in Clay County. And the portrait is by a fellow named Semi Knox. Who's ever heard of Semi Knox? Semi Knox, who I guess it will be 89 years old in a couple of days, August 18th. He's born August 18th, 1935, in Aliceville, Alabama. Semi Knox is a black portrait painter. Semi, S-I-M-M-I-E. Semi Knox painted the official portraits of President Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton that are in the White House. And Semi Knox painted the portrait of Hugo Black that hangs over in Clay County. So if you want a field trip and you want to see something and you want to feel good, go see Semi Knox's portrait of Hugo Black in Clay County. And what does it say about Democrats that they would get Semi Knox to paint Hugo Black's painting to hang in Clay County? It says what we are and what our values are. Before I came over today. I stopped in at Ann Welch's at the framing shop where I spend all of Carla's money. And there were people in there from Shoal Creek. Now, and what Ann says, it tells you about how that line of business has shrunk. Even over in Birmingham, they don't have a lot of really quality framers. And she is a world-class framing operation, and they just don't have as many of them. These people are from Shoal Creek. And so they said, I said, you're from Shoal Creek? I said, well, you're over there. I said, I was over in Shoal Creek. I said, with my mother-in-law. You know, Carla's always too busy, so I have to take Bert. So George Wallace Jr. was getting married.
Oh.
I got an invitation to George Wallace Jr.'s wedding. Now, unfortunately, unlike his father, he switched parties. But I got an invitation. So Bert went with me. We were over in Shoal Creek at the home of the rich brother-in-law that owned the toxic thing, Jim, whatever his name is. I'll think of his name in a minute. But the wedding was at his house. He's married to Wallace's daughter, and George Jr. then on the Public Service Commission, which is why I was sucking up to him, because I was representing the phone company and all that, and so they had me doing whatever I had to do. And so we're over there at the wedding in Shoal Creek of George Wallace Jr. at the Public Service Commission, and what happens? All the lights go out. No lights. No lights. I have never, Mom, you remember, I've never seen so many candles. It just instantaneously. And whether the power just went out over there all the time, I don't know. But they came up with all these candles. And did. But it's George Wallace, the governor, that I really want to end on, because whatever you say about him, he was always a Democrat. He never changed parties, did he? No, he didn't. He didn't change. And in the end, and when you read that story, when you read Wallace's story, here's. And we talk about Kamala Harris. Wallace was running the year that Shirley Chisholm ran. And when he was shot, she says, I'm going to see him. Look it up, Google it. And some of her staff members said, no, you don't need. I'm going to see him. That's what that Democrat said. That's what that black woman running for president said. I'm going to see him. That shouldn't happen to anybody.
Yes.
And she went to see him. And look it up. He welcomed her and thanked her. And they both cried like a baby. And his children even said that was a turning point for him, in him looking in his heart to see how he should be and how we should be, because Shirley Chisholm did what she ought to do. We don't need to judge. We're not called upon to that. We have many more important things to do than judge each other.
That's right.
We need to reach out to each other and support each other and try to help each other. And she did that. And his family really date his evolution, his turning the corner from small, and it wasn't so much hatred, it was just political obsession.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, the eminent lawyer down in Selma, Chestnut,
Yeah.
when you read Attorney Chestnut's biography. Here's what he says about George Wallace, the judge. George Wallace was, and you know, and did y'all know what college board George Wallace served on and fought to get on? Tuskegee. Before he got all eat up with ambition and would do everything, Tuskegee.
Yeah.
Is the and that was back when that was a gubernatorial appointment. He didn't swing an appointment to the Auburn board, the Alabama board, but to the Tuskegee board. And what Chestnut says about George Wallace as a judge, Chestnut, the black lawyer who did just a great plaintiff's lawyer, kind of like the Monsanto had cases like that down there and in that region. He says, no judge in Alabama treated me with greater courtesy or respect than George Wallace. That was George Wallace, not in the grip of just hopeless ambition.
Yeah.
So when we look at Democrats, we are people who can do the right thing. We are people who can work through our smallness. We are people who may lose our way, but can find our way.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm a Democrat.